talking about the timing of this interview, I mean, seriously, this interview could not have been timed better, because another announcement today is about a sandbox mode, which wasn't originally going to be there, but they're implementing a sandbox mode option as a mod. Is that correct?
Actually, so this is kind of funny for me because it's been there for a while. Apparently, it's been there as a mod for quite some time now. And people, we had a meeting the other day where people laughed at me. They're like, "Oh, you didn't know this?" Because apparently you need to kind of dig into the mod menus and enable it. So the announcement was more or less going to be in the direction that we have acknowledged that this is something that people really want. You know, you want people to be able to start a city and play with the milestone features, you know, where you unlock things and kind of progress, but you also want to be able to free build and, you know, say start your city with a big landmark or a central station or something. But you don't necessarily want to have infinite money just because you're in this free build mode. So we realized that we need to kind of detach these options from each other and make them more visible. Even though they've been there for a while, the goal is, and this might not happen prior to launch, but this is something that we want to change quickly, is that there's some kind of checkbox or scroll down menu where you can click in, you know, I want to play in sandbox mode, or I want to play in infinite money mode, or something like that. But it's something that a lot of really good games have missed, and that I personally, at least, and I believe a lot of people feel this with me, can be incredibly annoying. For example, a game that I deeply love personally is Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, that didn't have a free build mode where you had to be concerned about money. And that kept me off from playing the game, even though I loved it to death.
Yeah, I've been looking at this, and like originally I was like, nah, you know what, I like this concept of it being, you know, not just a pure sandbox city builder, but it being a game. And you have to go through that progression. I like games with some kind of progression. But then it occurred to me, you know what, after I've done that like 2 or 3 times, that might get actually a bit annoying if I've got like a vision of a city that I want to build. So yeah, I can understand why a lot of people do want that sandbox mode. And I've had a lot of comments on my vids about, is there going to be a sandbox mode? When's there going to be a sandbox mode? How's that going to be done? So this is going to come as very good news to a lot of people, I think.
I am happy to hear, because I was equally happy, especially when I learned that it's been there for a long time.
Yeah, it just goes to show, even totally Moo doesn't know everything.
I haven't, to be honest, as I mentioned, I kind of hold off on learning too much about features before we're ready to talk about them. So I've been just avoiding the whole modding topic until recently, because, you know, I haven't been at liberty to say anything about it, so if I start reading about it, I might, you know, accidentally release some information. And I mean, it's not that we're afraid of people knowing things. The thing that is the very, very touchy for us is that we really, really hate the idea of saying something and having to retract it. That's a horrible feeling as a marketing person, that you have promised something or talked about something, and then you have to go out to people and be like, hey guys, this is not going to happen, you know. And it's an easy mistake to make, especially when you know absolutely everything about a game but can only talk about a small part of it.
I can't even imagine how difficult that must be for you guys sometimes. But talking about the modding, now that you know probably a little bit more about the modding, what kind of expectations do you have for the modding community? I mean, I can tell you, I think the modding for this game for City Skylines is going to be pretty huge. I think it's really going to take off.
I think so too. I mean, you'll see next week what exactly you'll be able to do at launch. Of course, we've already started talking about assets, you know, importing buildings and such, but there's a bit more in store of what we're launching with. We are launching with, and this is something that I need to be adamant about too, is that we're launching with fully functional modding tools, but this does not mean that we have full modding tool functionality, which can be easily mistakable for each other, because the tools we launch with, they work, they do what they're supposed to do, and they have their functionalities, but we haven't created everything that we want to see there end result. You know, you can't touch every single aspect of the game, but our goal is that over the years that we're supporting this game, you know, that we can continue just evolving this together with the modders and make it even more and more open to just every kind of modification. And you know, it's a big question mark where that might lead, and I think that's something that we kind of had to hold off on until people have played the game, because you know, modders are incredibly creative people, so they're going to look at the game and they're going to see options that we couldn't even fathom. So for us spending just a ridiculous amount of time on developing the tools that we think they want, would kind of be detrimental to the end result, I think. So we're going to launch with kind of the stable ground. So, you know, you can do assets, you can do a bit more things here and there, you know, adjust values. We have the overlay thing that's recently popped up on Reddit, where I think Marina did a Mirror's Edge overlay, graphical overlay to the game.
Okay.
So there's going to be, you know, a lot of these features, but we are aspiring to add a lot more as we progress. And of course, as we work in Unity, this means that we have to custom build every tool.
Yeah, I'm sure that the modders will come up with stuff. I mean, I actually did some modding myself on SimCity, and the stuff that people came up with on there just like kind of blew my mind. So I can't wait, and that was difficult to mod. City Skylines is going to be very open, so I cannot wait to see what they're going to come up with. I'm definitely
excited.
Looking forward to the Lord of the Rings mod.
Oh, we've been talking about, we want a Gotham mod. This has been the big talk in Paradox offices.
Oh, really?
Yes. Personally, I want to see someone create a Warhammer 40k Orc mod.
Oh, that would be sweet.
But this is something that I want to kind of issue as a semi-challenge to modders. So you can replace zone brushes, right? You can create your whole own version of a medium density, a low density residential brush. It's really hard to say. And I realized that since we have the level functionality in the game, you could theoretically create residential buildings that on level 1 are, say, early 1900s, and level 5 are 2000s. So you can kind of have this naturally progressing aging city, and that I would love to see.
Oh, now people are definitely going to jump on that one.
Yes, that and Kowloon Walled City.
I'm salivating just at the thought of getting hold of this. I cannot wait. So, okay, let's just go back to kind of your role, and I wanted to ask you, as community manager, you're right on the front lines. Like you are the face to the player base, and as a YouTuber, I know that things can get a little bit rough sometimes when stuff isn't well received. So you must be pretty happy with the reception that City Skyline's been getting.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I would have been happy nevertheless, but seeing such an insanely positive crowd of people, no matter, I mean, there's a lot of people that are neutral or give us a lot of criticism or, constructive feedback, but generally the mood is that even though people are criticizing the game, they're not doing it because they want to harm it or dislike it. They do it because they want it to be as good as possible, and they're really passionate. It's just incredibly fun to work with this community. It's a joy every day to wake up, and the first thing I do when I open my eyes is just check Reddit and check the talk there, and then just go through all the forums and see all the happy people. So it's joy.
You mentioned expectation management, and I've got to say, boy, have you got a job on your hands trying to manage expectations, because, I mean, the hype train is like full on. Indeed,
I think that, I mean, to be honest, I have to say that I'm really happy with the community for that too, because they're incredibly good in helping me. There's been so many people that echo everything we say, and so many channels that we don't have access to, that, you as a marketing person, you feel incredibly I wouldn't want to say proud, because we can't really take credit for it, I guess, but still, you're just so happy seeing that your communication has worked. And this is something that I have to thank every one of you active community members out there for, because when I see you respond with something that either I or Marina or Carolina or Jonathan has said, and you just echo it perfectly, I don't know, it can make my day.
So there you go, guys. Keep spreading the word. Keep getting the messages out there. So, as a community manager, and you've been community manager on other games as well, how do you deal with it when you are getting negative and sometimes even abusive responses? I mean, it's got to be pretty stressful. Is it difficult to not kind of take it personally and take it to heart?
No, I mean, honestly, I can't say anything I worked with on Paradox that has been worse than working with esports. And even that wasn't so bad. I mean, if people are angry, I honestly just get the urge to kind of help them and soothe their anger, because I don't see any point for them to be that. Like, I just don't get that. I don't get the anger emotion. So the one time I've taken something personal is when someone sent me pictures on my apartment door, and very, very visual threats on what they were going to do with me. But that was back in the esports days. But beyond
Ouch.
that, I just don't really get it. It's, if someone's mad at something, I just see that I have a chance to help them.
Well, I think some of it is just pure trolling, but some people get so invested in games that, it's like the most important thing in the world to them, and if it's not exactly what they want, they literally go crazy. I've had some stuff on my YouTube channel that you kind of wouldn't believe. It's like, whoa, take a chill pill, dude.
It's I don't know. I mean, if people are so invested in something and they're just thoroughly upset about a feature missing or something, I know I've seen that in 95% of the cases, when you just talk to them and you kind of try to inform them and listen to them, it usually helps. And the funny thing is that being a community manager for several years, I noticed that a lot of these people can then turn into being, top-notch community members. They can be so incredibly valuable because all they want is to be listened to, right? Even not if they're just pure trolls, but generally if you just give them your ear for a while, if you don't ignore them and let them speak to you for a while, it will end up in being a very productive community member. Some of the people I worked with in previous games that others have been like, ban that guy or just don't listen to them, after investing some time in them, they have just been so incredibly valuable for us. And, as a marketing person, you have to be kind of this extroverted person and this person that likes interacting with people. So if you make someone's day better, or if you make them enjoy a game that they previously wouldn't have enjoyed or whatever, it's a personal win for you.
I couldn't agree more. So, the way you've described it, being a community manager is like, it's going to be a dream job for a lot of people out there. They're going to be like, how could I become a community manager working on video games? How did you get into it?
Oh.
Good question, huh?
Yeah, it's a good question because I don't really know myself. So I was incredibly bored with school. It was way too easy. And I started working as, I think, a 16-year-old. And I started working with esports. And I really, really, really hope people don't start looking up that. So I'm just going to say vaguely, but I did some commentary on games. It's horrible. It's cringeworthy, but I did it.
Is it on YouTube?
I have tried to purge YouTube from everything, but there are places where you can see it. Yes,
find it, guys. Guys, find it. Send me a copy.
It's horrible. Please don't. So I had roughly, I think, 2 years of experience doing that. I got picked up by DreamHack, and I worked with some Swedish newspapers like Aftonbladet and yada yada. But it was, it was all free labor. But that was 2 years of networking for me. And then I applied to the streaming producer position here at Paradox. And I didn't get the job, but they liked me, so they're like, hey, you can just become this kind of jack of all trades in marketing, and we kind of see where you end up. Then, over the years, it evolved into community management. I suppose they saw that this is something that I'm not completely horrible doing, and they put me here. So I'm still kind of hoping that they don't figure out their mistake and just continue this way, because it's been going well for several years, but I wouldn't say there's a clear path you can take to becoming a community manager, especially because it's such a vague role. It's different in every company you do. Sometimes it's super markety, sometimes it's just community people that do it, sometimes developer do it. It's completely different depending on which company you end up in. One thing that might be very important, work with customer supports. I mean, if you can't work in a help desk, then you can't work with community management, because you need to be able to speak to people no matter what their problem or standpoint is. And if you work with support, and some people listen to this will have worked with support, you know how interesting that can be. I'm going to use the word interesting, yeah.
I hear what you're saying. Anything else that you want to pick up on?
I just want to say that I'm really excited for the game. Like, sometimes when you work with a game, you're kind of, when you're not afraid of people playing it, but you know that some will love it, some will hate it, right? But when I've seen people talk about City Skylines, and when I see what they kind of expect from it and what they want from the game, it's really fun because, it feels like it's incredibly aligned with what we're actually delivering, and that is something just ridiculously exciting. So, this is a game where I want to see launch day, because I know, even though some people will be like, there are no helicopters in this game, or whatever, the vast majority of players are going to be really happy with what they get. And I just want to say I share your hype. I'm so happy. There's so much discussion going on already, and I don't know. You're gonna like the game. I bet you are. I really know that people are gonna like this game.
Well, I can tell you, John, I've spent many, many hours going through the forums and the dev diaries in detail, just trying to get like every scrap of information I can get about the game, and I love it. I love it. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I keep bugging you saying, when am I going to get the game? When am I getting the game?
You're going to get it soon.
I am going to get it soon. I know I'm going to get it soon. So guys, it's coming. It's coming. We don't have to wait much longer. John, I want to thank you for giving me so much of your valuable time. I've loved talking to you. I'm sure the guys are going to love hearing this. Seriously, go back to work. Bring us more and more cool stuff because you're doing a fantastic job.
Well, I mean, it's the most luxurious work in the world, right? I sit on forums all day and I talk to people. Nothing's easier. I get to drink a lot of coffee. I'm just happy you call it work and not leisure time, right?
Yeah, it's like, I think it was Isaac Walton who said, find something that you like doing and then get somebody to pay you for doing it. And I think you've managed to do that in spades.
As I said, don't tell Paradox. They might reconsider.
We'll keep that on the QT. All right, thank you, John. It's been wonderful. I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers.